which is more focused on network engineers, data center technicians, DevOps engineers, and others. You'll notice that we have two tiers to our program, associate and professional currently, and this allows you to progress from beginner to intermediate level. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Gary, who will dive into the details for the infrastructure track. We previously had a webinar on the application and workload track. So Gary, I'm going to hand it over to you, and if you don't mind talking to us about our infrastructure exams.
Yeah, happy to. So when we think about infrastructure, we like to think about our infrastructure in terms of an AI factory. If we look at the next slide here, this is one of the ways that NVIDIA sort of views the AI factory with what Jensen Huang this week at Davos sort of described this as a 5-layer cake with energy at the bottom. And then in the compute layer, that's where, we're developing the chips that are going into the compute layer. The network is alongside here. He sort of described that as another layer above in the cloud. And then the layers above are, where the models live and the applications above those. And so when we think about the professionals that are involved in those AI factories from all of those layers, we can sort of place those roles on top of this graph to kind of understand where your talents and your interests lie. So if we go to the next slide, you can see that we've laid these roles on top of this AI factory. So on the far right there, the networking role. So we have a networking engineer certification for the professionals. Moving to the left where the compute section is, that's where we would normally see our infrastructure professionals involved. And then at the operations level, that's where the infrastructure and workloads are managed for the models and the applications above those. And then at the bottom, there's this associate level certification. So if you're not in one of those working professions today and you're needing a place to start, that's where you would start at the associate level. So this is just kind of a useful way to look at the AI factory and where these professional roles sort of line up with the various portions of that AI data center infrastructure. So if we go one click deeper into this, you'll find that the certifications are described in our website. There are infrastructure certifications and developer certifications. So there's sort of two halves to that coin. In that 5-layer cake description, the models and applications that sit above would be developer level certifications. So if you're interested in those, where you might be interested in agentic AI or data science or Gen AI development, those would be in the developer certifications. So that would be the left tab there. And what we're going to do today, though, is dive into the infrastructure certifications. And so those are the 4 that we'll discuss today, starting with the associate level certification, which I think is next slide. Yeah. So this is the AI infrastructure and operations certification. This is by far our most popular certification because this is where everyone starts. It is an associate level certification, so it's a little lighter in depth. And so what you will see on this exam is about 50 questions broken across these 3 areas: operations, infrastructure, and then just basic essential AI knowledge. So the kind of person that this is developed for are those folks who are working in a data center who are just starting their careers. So they don't have years of experience. You might be just brand new to AI. This would be the place for you to start. And so the prerequisite knowledge is just a basic understanding of data centers and AI infrastructure. So the recommended training is this AI infrastructure and operations fundamentals course. It's a self-paced course. It's about $50, and you can take that publicly anytime. There is a free study guide that we'll talk about in some detail in later slides. But my point with this certification is that if you're new to AI and data centers, this is the place for you to start. So again, a real popular certification is $125. It's 50 questions. It takes about an hour, and super popular exam here at NVIDIA. If you're more of a working professional and you're in the networking space, then this would be the certification for you. The AI networking certification is for network engineers who are deploying AI infrastructure networking. So what's interesting about this certification is that there are 6 sections. There's a little bit on AI data center design, just 5%, and then a small section on Kubernetes integration. But the lion's share of content on this certification is in SpectrumX and InfiniBand. So not only do you need to know InfiniBand, you also need to know the Ethernet side of the house. You'll need to understand how to troubleshoot. It looks like our pie chart's a little mixed up there. Troubleshooting is about 20% and automation is about 10%. So the exam is a fairly difficult exam, I should say. Brad can speak to the details on this, but it's 70 questions. And as I said, it covers both areas of both Ethernet and InfiniBand. The courses that you would use to prepare for this, it looks sort of intimidating, but the majority of those courses are pretty short, like RDMA and Bluefield. Those are short courses, whereas the Linux Bootcamp and the networking administration courses are longer. So of all of our certifications, this one is probably the most broad and generally the most difficult. So that's specifically for network engineers, and there's a free study guide that goes into the details of all these 6 sections. The next exam that we want to talk about is the infrastructure certification. So when we think about AI data centers, we sort of, within our own solution architecture organization, we think of it as there's day 0, there's day 1, and sort of day 2 and beyond in terms of the stand-up and deployment of an AI data center. And so the infrastructure folks are generally those day 0 engineers who are standing up the infrastructure of the data center. So they're deploying the clusters, they're verifying that they're running, they're making sure that the networking is all in place and that there's no latency. So if you're an infrastructure engineer who is involved in or wants to be involved in the deployment of AI data centers, this is the certification for you. We would suggest that you've got a couple of years of experience in the data center before you sit this exam. It is a fairly difficult exam. It is one of our more popular exams at the moment because there's so much infrastructure being built out there. As we've learned recently, there are trillions of dollars in infrastructure earmarked around the world. So if you're sort of looking for career growth, this would be an excellent place to invest your time. The 2 courses that we recommend are the infrastructure operation fundamentals. It's just a self-paced course. We're a good place to start. And then the infrastructure professional instructor-led workshop, which you can attend through public-led workshops. It's a 5-day course. And then there's a free study guide that you can use to get prepared for this. But to dive into the details of this exam, so there's about a third of it is bringing up the servers and validating that they're working. This is working with GPUs, and then testing the clusters and verifying that they're good to go. Installing and configuring is a big part of that, of course. And then there's a little bit, small section on physical layer management and troubleshooting. So that is the infrastructure certification. Again, this is a professional level certification that's about 70 questions and it takes about 90 minutes. It's $400. And that's all the details on infrastructure. For operations, this would be sort of that day 1 engineer who's now inherited the stood up infrastructure of an AI data center. So they're involved in installing software, making sure the patches are there, the firmware is up to date. They're administering workloads and they're troubleshooting those workloads. So these are administrators who are running those data centers on a day-to-day basis. Pretty equal distribution of topics in this area, from administration, install and deployment, workload management's an interesting section, and then optimizing those data centers. So these are administrators who are managing those data centers. Again, we sort of recommend that you've got some experience in this area. There are 2 courses recommended for this one as well. Just like the infrastructure course, the professional instructor-led operations course is available publicly. And there's a study guide available for this one as well. We'll talk about some changes to this exam that are coming up. Again, it's a 70-question exam. It's $400 at the moment, and it's It's available around the world in 2 languages, English and simplified Chinese. That's true for all of these exams that we're speaking of. So they're available in English and Chinese. Next slide is about study guides. These are a feature that are available for free for every one of our exams, and you can go download the study guide as a PDF from our website. And what's on the study guide is a number of details about the exam. So not just the topic weight, which you can see here is about 23%, but also the subtopics. So in this case, we go into 5 subtopics on administration in the operations exam. In that study guide, there are some recommended trainings down to the module level of the courses that we are referring to in that section of the exam. And then there are suggested readings. This is kind of like the secret hack for how to get through these exams. Those suggested readings are tied directly to the exam. So we really heavily recommend that you invest time in reading those. These are mostly NVIDIA-based articles, but sometimes they're third parties, open source content, and we really recommend that you take a look at the suggested readings. They're all free and they're all available online. So that's the study guides. Study guides are available all up online associated with each of the exams. And in the next slide, we're going to hand it over to Brad to talk about how to prepare for your certification.
Thanks, Gary. So like we mentioned at the top, I have passed all 4 of the exams. So they've asked me to talk a little bit about kind of the strategy and what I did to actually get through this. I'll be perfectly honest, these are difficult tests. I've done a lot of different infrastructure exams, but that makes them valuable. So this experience was definitely worth it. So a couple of things that I like to do when it comes to something difficult like this is, first off, commit publicly to doing it. Whether you're going on a diet or quitting cigarettes, whatever it is. If you go and announce to the world that you're going to do it, your ego is tied to actually accomplishing the goal. Go out there and tell people that you're absolutely planning on cracking these exams. Totally worth it. As a consequence of doing that, whether it's on social media or maybe at your work or wherever that's going to be, hopefully you're going to find other people who are also interested in tackling these exams. It is really great to form study groups. I've found that immensely helpful. You can pool resources. One of the difficulties about working in our space of infrastructure is we don't always have access to all this hardware. I don't have a DGX SuperPod in my home lab. Nobody does. But hopefully, if you're working with other folks, maybe at their company and their data center, maybe they'll have some parts and pieces of this or exposure that you don't have. A great example is on the networking exam. A lot of times we're going to choose InfiniBand, right? Or maybe Spectrum X, Ethernet. So, as you go through that, maybe you don't have access to that InfiniBand, but somebody in your study group might, and that would get you the exposure that you need to start to understand what the objectives are on the test and how to answer them. Another really good thing to do is those study guides are gold. They absolutely are. So one of my strategies I've done for a long time on passing exams like this is get the blueprint for the exam. It's literally giving you the roadmap to the product. And remember, the blueprints really do come, all the way from engineering, all the way to the certification team. It really does help you understand the domain, the problem space, and really helps you stay on target. With AI these days, there's so much marketing going on out there. It's really difficult to know how to stay focused on what matters. And those study guides and blueprints will help you stay laser focused on what you just need to pay attention to. So lean into those blueprints. Also, get out there in the ecosystem. There's a lot of commands that are in GitHub, for example, like Nickel and CCL. The NVIDIA Collective Communications Library, there's stuff on GitHub about it. There's plenty of articles out there in the open source community. Make sure that you go out there and lean into that ecosystem. Also in that ecosystem, though, is VARs like my company, Computer Center, but also OEMs, independent software vendors. They're all partnering heavily with NVIDIA. And there is a gap. There is not enough people that know how to use this infrastructure. So if they are more than happy to help you learn about this and really focus on getting upskilled, and whether it's you don't have to do all the exams, but whether it's the operations piece, the infrastructure piece or the networking piece, those different ecosystem partners will help you get exposure to the gear. First off, that's the hard part, but also training resources. My company has a lot of labs. That makes it easier. It can be really useful to lean into the courses that are provided by NVIDIA. I'm lucky that I actually got to go through a lot of those courses. If you can do it, there's a lot of great free online resources. You should absolutely go through all of the free stuff. But if you have a chance to get some of the paid training, I can't recommend it enough. You really will get exposure and just stick time with the products. Another key thing to focus on is really diligent note taking. There is a lot of different domains of knowledge, and it covers a lot. It's basically everything you could do in a data center. I'd like to caution people, don't lean too much on AI, believe it or not. That may sound funny, but I'm a big believer in plain text note taking. Don't just copy and paste out of an AI. It doesn't help you learn nearly as well as taking notes diligently yourself. But you can use AI to do things like come up with flashcards. I found that invaluable. Mind maps, helping organize the knowledge and organize your notes more thoughtfully. That's a great place to use it. But really do, as you're going through the courses, make sure that you're writing notes and putting them in your own words and using links out there. I'm a big fan of Obsidian, a great plain text note-taking app. I have literally thousands of notes, believe it or not, on NVIDIA Tech that I took through going through all 4 of these exams. Another thing is fail fast. If you do go take these exams and you fail, it's not the end of the world. I like to think of it as a scouting mission. If you go in there and you fail, there's a 10-day waiting period before you can try again. But, if you have failed, step away, sit down, and just figure out what you didn't know. Take the time, look on the study guide, go through those blueprint items. And they do provide, a helpful kind of readout of what areas that you didn't score well in. Fail fast, but go through that and don't lose spirit. Go in there and take another shot at it. It's definitely worth it. Finally, another thing is, it's a lot. There's a lot of Linux and a lot of networking. Many of us in the infrastructure space, you're a network engineer, or maybe, you're a systems guy working on compute or storage. Those days of us being specialized are really going away. And I think AI really will put the stake in the heart of these individual roles. You really do need to know the whole stack. So make sure that you go out there and do the basics of learning Linux. Get comfortable at the command line. Play with Docker, play with all those tools, and learn basic networking. At the end of the day, this is really all about GPU clustering. And there's a lot of networking involved in that. And so be prepared to leave your comfort zone and get out there and just study and learn things maybe that were outside of your wheelhouse. And really that takes us back to the beginning and finding other students and finding a way to work together with study groups. As I was going through this process, I've done some networking. I got years of experience at it, but there's a couple of folks I work with that, they are packet pushers. That's all they've done their whole career. They were invaluable for me wrapping my head around RDMA and Rocky V2. So get out there and network. If there's Twitter, there's Reddit, there's LinkedIn. Get out there and find those folks that can help you learn, and just really commit yourself to being a lifelong learner. And all these tools will really help. Well, thanks. Back to you, Gary.
Thanks, Brad. Last thing we want to talk about here is our move toward hands-on or performance-based testing. So one of the things that we want to do with our certifications is make them super practical for both the users and the consumers of these credentials. And one of the ways to do that is to embed labs in the certifications. Labs are difficult to do on large scale. So we're going to do that with the AI operations exam first. And so I just wanted to show you a couple of quick kind of highlights of what we expect that certification to change toward in the next few months. And so This is a view of what the lab will look like. You'll be working in the certification, in the exam, as you are today, taking multiple choice exams. And when you get to the lab portion of the exam, you'll be dropped into what is a provisioned set of virtual machines. And you will be given a number of challenges. These are the objectives that you see listed here. In this case, you'll be troubleshooting a cluster in Slurm. You'll use Kubernetes to run a workload. And then you'll be adding some nodes to existing clusters using BCM. So these are all in the cloud, and these are functioning VMs. You're not going to be working in a simulation. These will be actual working applications. So you'll be dropped into this Linux interface, and you'll be asked to complete these tasks. We go to the next slide. You'll see what that interface will look like. There'll be a task. I've sort of redacted it here because this is the actual task that you'll see in the exam in a couple of months. The exercise instructions will tell you what the challenge is that you have to solve and the environment that you have to do that in. There'll be a list of tasks that you need to complete to solve for that exercise. So in this example, this is just the first exercise with a small scenario. There'll be a number of exercises. There'll be 3 to 5 exercises in the entire lab. And you'll be asked to complete those. So as Brad mentioned, you're going to need to know Linux, and you're going to need to be able to work in the command line to solve these problems. These are going to be typical sorts of issues that an administrator would find on any given day. Next slide will show that the sidebar will have both instructions and resources. So all the resources you need to solve the problem will be there, including the logins, the permissions that you have on those nodes. And once you've completed all of the tasks in the exercise, you'll submit that. It'll be graded, and you'll be given a score. If we go to the next slide, you'll see the score report. This is typical of our current exams, where the score report is broken into sections, and you get a score per section. So we expect that with the labs, it will take a little bit more time to score the exam, because the lab the scoring algorithm has to run against all the tasks that you've completed on the lab machine, on the VMs. And so the score might not be immediate. It will probably be emailed to you within a few hours of completing the exam, but it will look something like this, where each section of the exam is scored independently, and then you're given a pass-fail. So in this case, John Doe passed the exam, and the credential is being sent to him after the fact. So in the next slide, we will give you there's some frequently asked questions about the labs. So specifically, I'm going to run through these really quickly. How much time for the lab portion of the exam? So the entire exam is given as 1 2-hour experience, which means that you'll have the multiple choice questions and the lab to complete during that period of time. So you just need to budget some time for the lab component of the exam. You'll be presented with the multiple choice questions first. There'll probably be about 30 of those. And then you'll have the lab portion of the exam, which we think will take about 30 minutes, but recommend you give yourself an hour to do that. The entire lab, or lab and multiple choice, the entire exam is about 2 hours. So the lab portion is embedded in that 2 hours. Can I fail the lab and still pass the exam? Probably not. As you saw on the previous screen, where there's section scores, it's going to be unlikely that you can pass the exam without passing the lab. But the lab does have independent sections that are scored. And so you might fail one of the tasks across several tasks. Let's say there are 10 tasks on the exam. You could fail a couple of those tasks and still pass the exam. So like a typical exam, it might be a 70% cut score. So there could be some tasks on the lab that you didn't complete with 100%, and you would still be able to pass the exam. But it's unlikely that you could fail the entire lab. You definitely could not fail the entire lab and pass the exam. So sorry if that was a little bit confusing, but the point is, it's one exam with multiple choice and lab that are scored cumulatively. And so you'll need to do well on the lab as well on the multiple choice. Can I take the lab at home? The entire exam is delivered remotely. So yes, you can take it at home. We recommend that you find a quiet place that you won't be interrupted, where you have stable bandwidth for the entire period of time. And that's where you would take the exam. Just like all of our exams, they are remotely delivered. They are proctored by a human. That means you have to schedule the exam at least a day in advance. And then when you launch the exam, a proctor will take over your screen and your microphone to look at your room. You'll verify that you're by yourself in a room that's suitable for the exam, and then the exam will launch. So yes, you can take your exam at home. You will not need a GPU to take the exam because all of those resources are in the cloud. That's a question that's later down here. But just so you know, you can take the exam from a normal laptop in your home and you should be fine. Can I take the lab at a different time from the multiple choice? No, they're one thing. So you'll take both the multiple choice and the lab together as one event. What happens if I lose connectivity to the exam while I'm taking it? If you do get disconnected from the internet, you just need to get back on really quickly as possible, because the exam will time out over a period of time. That is fully up to the proctor to time you out. And then if you are not able to get back on, if for instance an ice storm hits and you've lost power completely and you're not able to get back on, the exam will score at whatever point you were disconnected from it. So we recommend that you get back onto the exam as quickly as possible. Communicate with your proctor if you can, and try to get back onto it. And then you'll be able to continue from wherever you left off. Do I need a GPU? We covered that. If I fail the exam, can I retake it? Only the part that I failed? No, that's not possible. You will need to take the entire exam again. There are multiple forms of the exam, so you won't see the same questions or the same exercises on the second attempt. So we recommend that you really be prepared for your first attempt. As Brad mentioned, if you fail, there will be a cooling off period, so you won't be able to take the exam right away, but you would have to take the entire exam over again. And how can I practice for the lab before the exam? These labs are mostly covered in the courses that were recommended. So if you've gone through one of those recommended trainings, you will see the labs that are going to be representative of the exam. So if you don't have access to the courses, then you'll need to experiment on your own with those tools. In this case, it's Slurm and Kubernetes and BCM, none of which you need a GPU for that, but you can practice with those tools, get comfortable with the sort of normal commands that you would be requested to use in those applications, and you should be good to go. And that's it for the hands-on exam FAQ. If you have other questions, please feel free to ask them in the profile or in the whatever that area is where you ask questions. And so I'm going to hand it back over to Marco.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks. That was awesome. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Brad, for all those insights on how to prepare for these exams. Super valuable, I think, for our audience. Okay, folks, we're almost wrapping up here. Just a few next steps for you. So if you're interested in our exams and continuing the journey or starting the journey, our certification landing page, as Gary presented just a little bit earlier, has all the information that we've shared here with you. Okay, each exam has its own landing page with duration, number of questions, price, the study guide, the recommended training. All that is available for you to look at your leisure. As I mentioned, we will have a webinar promotional code in the related content section. So below the Q&A window, you will be able to find that, as well as the link to these slides that we just shared with you. Also wanted to make a note of our Certification Champions program, which you can also find a link to in our CERT landing page. If you're at all interested in joining us as we build out our program and being a subject matter expert in writing questions, reviewing questions, or just being part of the discussion and bring in your perspective, please feel free to reach out to us through that contact there. Okay, lastly, just pointing out, so in order for you to make use of the code that we will be providing, on the specific exam landing page, you will see a register for exam button. This is how you will start the process to purchase the exam. So if you click on that button, that's going to take you to our hosting platform. You will see a set of screens where you will provide your contact information first, and then you will get a screen where you can enter the promotional code before payment. So hopefully this helps you out in navigating how to use the promotional code. All right, let's move over to a Q&A session now where our panel will be answering your questions in real time.
Welcome, everyone. And I hope you've enjoyed the first portion of our AI infrastructure certification webinar. So thanks for watching so far, and hopefully you found it really valuable and practical. What I wanted to do is quickly give an intro to ourselves. My name is Kunal Patani. I work in the marketing team at NVIDIA, and alongside me, I have my colleagues who will do a quick intro and say hi. Over to you, Juan.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Juan. I work in the Deep Learning Institute as a principal instructor based in Germany.
So I'm Herman. I'm also a principal instructor in the Deep Learning Institute, and I'm based in Taiwan.
Thanks, guys. And just a bit of housekeeping. We have before we dive into some of the Q&A and some interesting polls, which we hope you'll enjoy. What we're going to do is there's a series of decks that you'll see, the presentation that was shared earlier by the team. And alongside that, you'll see there'll be a link to our certification portal, which will give you an overview and ability to sign up to any other courses and find out more. And alongside that is our promo code. So hopefully you'll find those resources useful. And if you need anything else, the recording will also be shared with you post-session. And just so we set expectations, we're aiming to have about 25 minutes of Q&A and some interesting polls. So please do continue to drop questions into the chat, which I can see you've been doing. So thank you very much. So on that note, I'm going to dive into some of the questions, and maybe starting at the top. I'm just weeding through, and we have got a lot of great questions coming in. Just give me a moment. And Juan, I think this one might be great for you to take. How often are certifications updated to reflect the latest advancements in AI and GPU technologies?
That's a very good question. So the NVIDIA certifications are continuously updated, and revisions are provided to the material and the exam, and at least every quarter the exam is reviewed with the latest advancements in the field.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Herman, one further one for you before we dive into our first poll question. How can I practice the lab before the exam?
So the lab exam is our new certification activity we will introduce in our GTC San Jose on March this year. So if you schedule the certification exam before that, you probably will not have the certification, the online lab requirement. So if you, because online lab require another additional practice. So this is just a reminder. This is our new certification activity, and after March, if you take schedule the certification exam after March, after our GTC, then you might probably encounter this online lab during your certification process. And to prepare for this certification process, it requires some environment. So our recommendation is that if you don't have the environment on your company or on your study environment, then you can take our recommended training course. We have this our recommended training course in the exam portal. So each exam, including the lab and the exam, include the recommended course in the portal, and you can check the course, and they including the very similar environment that you will have when you take the exam.
Amazing, and thank you for that detailed answer, Herman. Before we dive into some more questions, Kelly, I was wondering if we could launch our first poll question, which will hopefully give you a teaser into the different certifications and test your knowledge. So if we could launch question 1, please. Hopefully you should be seeing that on the screen soon. While that is loading, I will just read out the question to give you a feel for it. So as you can see, it's probably reading out as an operations team is building a multi-tenant AI cluster and will use Slurm together with NVIDIA-based Command Manager, BCM. Which requirement is best addressed by adding BCM instead of relying on Slurm's basic OS scheduling? Waiting for your results to come in. Guys, you've done an amazing job, and I would like to say, yeah, over 63% of you got that correct. So well done. It was option A, which was enforcing GPU and project level quotas for fair multi-tenant resource sharing. So well done to all of you. So swiftly moving on, because I know we are running short of time, with 15 minutes or so to go. I just wanted to jump into a question. One, in relation to, are the exams available in multi-time zone or languages?
Yeah, the certifications exams can be scheduled in any time zone. Basically, any day of the week, you can schedule your exam. In terms of language, the exams are available in English, and some of the exams are as well available on simplified Chinese. If English or Chinese is not your main language, you can probably request to have an extension in terms of the time you have for completing the exam. You know, for each exam, you have an amount of time to complete the labs and the questions. This extra time, it will be reviewed in a case-by-case manner, but in principle, if you understand English, if you understand Chinese, there should be no problem for you to understand the exam questions as well as the exercises that needs to be done on the lab.
Excellent. Thanks, Juan. And Herman, swiftly moving on before we move on to our second poll question. We've had some questions in around what's the passing score or grade for exams people need.
Okay. So we will not to reveal our passing score for the security reason. We will tell you the result if you are pass or fail kind of immediately after you finish the exam. But to help you to understanding what is your performance in the exam, we do provide your status of different section in the exam. So we provide a section level score for in the report. When you finish the exam, we will send you the report. So yeah, we don't disclose the what's the pass or fail score. but you will have section level detail about your performance.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And swiftly moving on, we're going to go to our second poll question, which should now be live. So, an engineer plans to install more GPUs into the existing AI server. Which checks are most important to perform the server on the server before adding any new GPUs? See quick activity on this one, so it looks like a popular question. Just waiting for results to come in. And let's just check. You guys know your stuff. We're hitting good rates in terms of the poll question. So well done. The correct answer is C, which is the PCIe slots, PCU capacity, connectors, and server cooling. So well done, guys. Excellent job. And on that note, I'm going to flip back to questions. So this is a fast, quick fire round. So hopefully you're finding this useful. And do let us know if there's any other questions that you'd like us to take as they flood in. Do you have some elements in terms of what study materials and guides are available? So Juan, I don't know if you want to take that, or Herman?
Sure, I can take that one. Yeah, we do provide for each of the certifications exams that we have different recommendations in terms of self-paced courses and instructor-led workshops that could help you prepare for the corresponding exam. So you can go to the certification portal at nvidia.com/training and navigate to the certification. In addition to the self-paced courses and the instructor-led workshops that we have, for each of the exam, there is a free study guide that will point you to extra material that you could read in order to prepare the exam. These study guides are excellent. They will also include a lot of information on topics that the exam will cover, what is the weight of each of those topics on the exam. So yeah, there is a lot of information, a lot of good material that we recommend. And please go ahead, have a look into our website and benefit of this.
Excellent. Thanks, Juan. And you will find a link to the portal just in the resources section. So do take advantage of that and make sure you access it, as Juan said. And further question, in terms of exams, how long do I have to access an exam once I've registered? So I don't know if Herman, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, sure. So when you register the event, you have to choose the day you would like to take the exam. So, but you will be able to choose the date within the next 60 days. So you quite probably 2 months. You can just schedule your exam, and you have 2-month window to decide which day you want to take the exam. And additionally, I want to say, if you want to reschedule or cancel the exam, you need to do that before the exam day, before 24 hours ahead of the exam day and time. So as long as you do the cancel, modify, change the day ahead of the 24 hours, then we are allow you to do some date change.
Amazing. Thanks, Herman, for that informative piece. There's been a number of questions that have been coming in around that side of things about exams. Now, just a quick one. We're going to do a pit stop to our third question, which should be coming up very soon. It's going to be around the NVIDIA Certified Professional AI Networking certification, which should hopefully be on screen now. So just reread the question for you. An An AI team is designing a Spectrum-X-based fabric for GPU training and wants to keep job performance stable, even if one of the uplinks between the leaf and the spine switches goes down. Which Spectrum-X capability primarily helps maintain high effective bandwidth when a link in the fabric fails? Again, I think we've got good results coming in quite quickly. Just looking at my other screen to see results come in, which should be, again, yeah, clear winners in this group. So yeah, I think you'll be doing well with certification, hopefully. So yes, 60 plus 60, nearly 65%. So yeah, 3/4 of you have done really well, and others very close behind. So the answer was B. It was the adaptive routing. So well done all. And in the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving along and trying to keep the pace up in terms of questions, and just drawing into elements around career impact. So wanted to raise a question that's come up a few times, is around are there certifications for specific roles, i.e. data analysts, project managers, or sales professionals? One, I don't know if you want to take that question to...
Sure. Our certifications are aligned with different skill sets on different domains, like generative AI, data science, AI, infrastructure, operations, machine learning. So they're more aligned with the skills, try to validate the skills on those different domains. And obviously within those domains and validation of the skill sets, they map to different multiple roles. So it's not for specific roles, so different roles can really benefit from the validation of these skill sets that the certifications exam provide.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we've had a few other questions in about the promo code, which is on the resources section, and we will share this with you post-session. But there are some questions in terms of using the same voucher for multiple exams. So the voucher code, the 50% discount code, is usable as a single-use event. So it's not available to use in multiple exams, unfortunately, at this time. So it is single use and for that one exam that you schedule. So you're aware. And another interesting question, or questions coming in, are around how do employers in the industry perceive the NVIDIA certification? So, Herman, I don't know if you want to dive into that a little bit, or yeah.
Yeah, so I think right now NVIDIA is cooperating and we collaborate with a lot of industry leaders in different manufacturer or banking. We collaborate them to provide AI infrastructure, and also we have some enterprise service like the NVIDIA NIM or NVIDIA Enterprise Solution. So we are generally, NVIDIA being considered as kind of one of the leading company in this area. And in particularly, our platform are being utilized in several cloud vendor and also in the on-premise environment. So our certifications are being considered by the industry as one of the leading indicator for when they evaluating their candidate skill. They are well perceived in the industry. Additionally, our data also shows that once you have some certification from leading company like NVIDIA, it can help you to boost your salary in a certain level. So we kind of quite encourage people to take the exam as evidence to show demonstrate your capability on all AI infrastructure or other building other AI application. I think they are quite strong evidence in your resume. So, and also we provide a lot of resource to help you prepare. Yeah, so I think we are kind of see a lot of the good feedback from our attendee, and they kind of see a positive impact in their career.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think we are going to move to the final poll question we have for today, and it's going to be on the NVIDIA Certified Professional AI Operations certification. Hopefully you will see that on your screen. I'll just read the questions we've been doing before. A user launches a GPU-enabled NGC container, but inside the container, the command NVIDIA SMI reports say no CUDA-capable devices detected. Which quick checks is most likely to identify the problem? Give everyone a second or two just to whiz through and submit their answers. Fingers crossed, they should just be coming in. And yeah, overwhelming win. I think, yeah, we've got a very esteemed audience today, so well done. The answer with an overwhelming 70% confirmation is D. So confirm the host NVIDIA driver CUDA version and GPU runtime are correctly configured. So well done to all of you on that front. And just, I think we have time for one or two more questions that we may be able to squeeze in. And don't worry, we will be able to take further questions and respond to those post-session as well. So we're not going to leave any of the questions hanging. So our experts are on hand to make sure we really do a deep dive for you. And hopefully there aren't any others that we need to worry about there. So I'm just whizzing through the questions to make sure we haven't missed anything. There is one around scoring or, the exam process. So if I fail, do I get a breakdown of where I need to improve? Juan, I don't know if you would like to take that question.
Sure. You do get a breakdown on your performance on the exam on the different topics. As was mentioned in as an answer to one of the questions before, we don't give you the positive score, but we will tell you, or the exam will tell you at the end, once you have submitted, hey, this is your performance, you have this score or this percentage in this area, that other percentage in that other area. And this performance breakdown will help you to understand those areas you will need to put more effort to prepare for the next time if you need to retake the exam.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Juan. And I don't know if we have further questions or time. Maybe one last question, and all around hands-on experience. So how can I practice the lab before the exam? Juan or Herman, would you like to take that?
Can take that one. Go ahead, Herman, please.
The lab, you can take the lab in our recommended course. Our recommended course provide a similar environment that will provide to you when you take the exam.
Thanks so much, Herman. And I think we are just on the nose for timing. So hopefully we have had a great session, and I hope you have found it valuable and useful. And on that note, I just wanted to share that we will be sharing resources and the deck, which will be updated and shared with you, and you will receive the code, the promo code as well, which you can also see in the resources. But if you have any further questions, once you receive your email with the resources, do feel free to reach out, and we look forward to hearing about your exam certification success in the future. So thank you very much.